Sasquatch, the moon landing, UFOs, 9/11, flat earth, JFK. All of these things have one thing in common: unanswered questions. So let's get to the bottom of that. Three strong men from the East rise from the ashes of censorship and cancel culture. From the strange and twisted mind of Mike.
Probably the best evidence for lizard people that I've seen is the CEO of Pfizer. His throat literally expands like it's like a frog. Might be reptilian. We're not sure.
From the unscripted and unthoughtful mind of Jason.
The Chinese brought these drones that look like birds to the United States so they can spy on us. Birds aren't real. Change my mind. Alex Jones said it. It's a fact.
Also from the mind that is on the edge of the lunatic fringe and reaches far into a bottomless void of nothingness. Byron Dice. Listen, if the moon landing was real, how come we haven't been back since then? And why was all the data scrubbed and destroyed? You know what I'm talking about? It's just weird. Wait, what if it was real and there's a moon base up there we don't even know about? That would explain Roswell. Dice Man Enterprises exclusively presents a talk show that will get to the bottom of things once and for all. And now here's your host for Let's Get to the Bottom of That. Three weirdos on a mic. That would definitely explain Roswell, and that's what we're getting into today, UFOs. Welcome back to another edition of Let's Get to the Bottom of That. I'm your host, Byron Dice. My boys are in studio, Mike and Jason. What's up, fellas?
What's up? How's it going?
It's going great. I was going to tell the audience real quick, and I'm not going to pretend the audience is dumb and stupid because of our weird time recording, because for us, the Bermuda Triangle just dropped yesterday, and it's been doing fantastic. I got a lot of feedback on it for us, but for the listeners, the Suicide Forest just dropped. So we have a little time delay. Hopefully we'll remedy that in the future where we can actually talk about, something that just dropped the other day. Because if we talk about something that just dropped yesterday, that's 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So I'm not going to pretend you guys are dumb. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Full transparency, which I know Jason's all about. He's all about the transparency.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. Real quick, we got a website up, www.bottomofthat.com. You can go there and you can leave comments if you go to our blog. Every time that we do an episode, I will post a blog with all of our resources and stuff that we talked about on the show for the blog. And you can comment at the bottom of the blog if you want to leave us any comments or tell us how dumb and stupid we are, which we invite that.
We do.
Definitely, because I'm probably the first one to admit it. And also, you know what? We forgot to talk about the question of the day. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. Also, if you want to go and listen to the latest episode, you can just click podcast on our homepage of bottomofthat.com. It'll go down and you can view the latest podcast. And then there is a slew of podcast platforms that you can pick from if that is one of your favorites. So enough of all the boring stuff, whatever. Do we have any updates since we've released some controversial items out there? Any updates we need to talk about? I know last week, when we did the Suicide Force, we did update on January 6th.
Yeah.
I've heard some, since then, there's been like a finale of the J6 Commission.
Yes.
Which nobody's watching and nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
So whatever. I think everybody pretty much knows the truth.
Have there been any revelations from that?
There was some video they showed that was never seen before, but I don't even know what it is.
Okay.
And I was like, whatever. I don't know what you got, but there's nothing condemning. I mean, everything that we've seen has been on the ground from people actually having footage and Ray-ups. Get to the Capitol! Get to the Capitol! Yeah, while he's sipping back, drinking margaritas and wherever.
Yeah.
Everybody else is locked up with chains.
Everything I've been hearing about it these days has basically been them trying to, pin it on Trump in some way. And it just sounds...
that's what, yeah.
It just sounds so reminiscent of, the whole Russiagate hoax where it's like, oh, Mueller's getting closer. He's getting closer for years and years and years. And then at the end, he's like, oh, yeah, he didn't find anything.
Not a thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, today's topic is UFOs. Now, before we get into this is a very high level, big, huge umbrella subject that can dive deep into it. But this is a very large topic. It's been going on for years. There's a lot to cover. What I wanted to designate on our show, or what we're going to talk about, maybe it'll be both. But when you say the word UFO, it's always tied to that's a spacecraft or that's some type of extraterrestrial. Right. Well, the term UFO is basically an unidentified flying object, which is something I can't identify.
Exactly. Could be anything.
Usually in people's mind, there's a UFO, it's a spacecraft. So are we going to divide that line today and just go, hey, what are we talking about today is just stuff that we can't identify?
Yes, I think we should do that because we'll have other episodes that pertain to
ancient aliens,
future aliens,
right? So I think just unidentified flying objects would be for today, because that's the thing. It's a fact that they're unidentified. We don't know what they are.
True.
That's a fact. Whether they be aliens,
that is
angels,
absolutely a fact. I can't identify it. Yes.
Yep.
Aliens, angels, who knows?
Right.
We
lizard people.
Lizard people. Hunter Biden's laptop. We don't know. We don't know.
Could you see him just AI driving? Hey, easy with the homemade porn back there. Trying to drive here.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway.
Have you seen that they've been calling them UAPs too?
Yes. Yes.
Are you serious? What is that?
Unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. They'll come up with anything.
Just trying to maybe because UFO is sort of stigmatized.
It's got the stigma. Yeah, definitely. Definitely stigma. So I want to probably focus in on, the actually unidentified part. And if we want to go down the rabbit hole of, we think it's, somebody saw this and then maybe there's extraterrestrial. Sure. Maybe, or maybe it's, just somebody, having a drone.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese.
It could just be a bird.
Could be a bird.
Right. It could be a bird that's spying on it. So with that, here, let's establish this first because I forgot to do it last week. Let's go ahead and get the question of the day. That way that way people are listening right now and they can hear the question of the day and will know. And this question will be put on the mobile app of Spotify. That's where you can go answer this question. So do we have a question of the day? How about this question? Have you ever seen a UFO?
Yes. Have you ever encountered?
That's the question of the day. It will be there. And then if somebody wants to come up with a poll later as we go throughout the show, maybe we can go ahead and establish a poll question for people, or I can do that post, whatever.
And if the answer to that question is yes, we want to hear the story.
Yeah, definitely put.
Leave a comment with the story.
Yeah, put the entire thing on there. You can put as much as you want. I don't know if it's character requirements on it, but I think you can answer as much as you want on that.
Yes.
So it's going to be, have you ever seen or been in contact with a unidentified flying object? And somebody's going to go, yeah, somebody hit me with a pine cone in the back of the head, and I didn't know what it was until 2 weeks later. Right? That's an encounter.
That's a UFO.
It's a contact.
That's a UFO.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to go through some bullet points, and then you guys can talk about the bullet points. And if we go into a tangent, I know Mike has some good information on Roswell, which that is a hotbed of UFO stuff right there. You say Roswell, you're just going to get all kind of emotions.
Yes.
Like TV shows, movies, whatever.
What year? What's the exact year?
The Roswell incident took place on July 8th, 1947.
47.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have the exact year for Blue Book?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and say of course, UFO is unidentified flying object. This phrase was coined by Captain Edward Ruppelt. Okay, he's a captain, U.S. Air Force. Now, the U.S. Air Force started Project Blue Book, and Captain Ruppelt was the director of this project after he left his post. You can look this book up. He wrote a book called The Report on Unidentified Flying Objects. He wrote a book about all of his research and his studies that he did. Probably they didn't want him to write it, but he did anyway. Okay, so Blue Book was actually not the first project. Started in 1947. It started as what they call Project Sign. That was the first project.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Project
same year
Sign.
as Roswell.
Yes.
Worth noting.
Project Sign. That evolved into what they called Project Grudge.
Yes, I knew that.
Yep.
I knew that.
Project Grudge. Grudge then evolved into Project Blue Book. Okay? So basically what Blue Book was a genuine attempt to investigate reports of people that had UFO sightings, and basically they wanted to get to the bottom of it. That was what Blue Book was designed to do.
Okay.
Initially.
I like how you
initially.
Put that in. I like.
They was like, hey, there's all kind of reports. We got to get involved. Of course, with the Air Force, so it's in the air.
Yeah.
Let's get to the bottom of it and try to explain stuff. That's what it was.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the biggest case Blue Book ever recorded was in July 1952 over the U.S. Capitol building.
I saw this one.
You know about this?
I do know about this.
Okay. All right, and this is confirmed by several people on the ground. Air Traffic Control Edward Nugent. I don't think he's related to Ted, but
Ted.
it would be cool if he was. Shredding out while he was doing air traffic control.
Oh, my gosh.
He noticed 7 flying objects that he could not identify on his radar screen. Okay, so you got the big green. Doop, doop, doop. Okay, number 1. This is Andrews Air Force Base. So you're near the Capitol.
You're in the heart of America right there.
So there is no fly zones over the Capitol.
not.
Yeah.
There's, you can't even go over it.
You can't even go into the Capitol.
No,
You can't.
No.
you can't, or you'll be locked up.
Or talk about it. So just keep that in mind.
Right, Ray Epps. So this was outside authorized airspace. Okay, now this sighting was confirmed. The same confirmed sighting by 2 other air traffic controllers. Like, we're working with him. Hey, come look at this. Okay, so you got 2 witnesses. Now, at Andrews Air Force Base, there was an airman. His name was William Brady. He reported seeing objects like fireballs in the sky. Okay, so you got one guy on radar seeing blips of 7 things that shouldn't be there. Then you got a dude over at Air Force, the same time, over at Andrews Air Force, seeing fireballs in the sky.
Wow.
Okay? Now, what he noticed was weird was the speed and the maneuverability of these objects were unlike he'd never seen anything like it. So it was obviously weird and strange. Now, this is funny here because this made public news. This made news. It was all over the place. Truman was up in arms. What the heck's going on? It was chaotic. 1 week later, the same thing happened. Same
Really?
airspace. 1 week later. Now,
And a bunch of people have seen this.
yes, it was on the news. Truman got angry because he was like, "What are y'all doing? Scramble your jets, go after, shoot these things down." That's what Truman was saying.
Right.
And actually, Lieutenant William Patterson actually got in the air, one of the scrambled jets, locked onto one of the objects, and was going to pursue it. So you got a dude actually in an aircraft going after one of these things, trying to find it, okay? But it was too fast. He couldn't keep up with it.
Yep.
Okay?
Standard.
Now, actually, when this happened, let me go back. When this happened, when it was all in an uproar, so during the week, like, reporters were like swarming this place. And Project Blue Book spokesman Albert M. Chop, he had a request from reporters to take pictures of the radar screens. And he denied that request when it happened again.
Oh, when it happened again the second time.
He did not take a picture of the radar screen?
Right, they wanted to take pictures, and he said, no, you can't do that.
Okay.
So that happened. Now, here's something interesting. I just want to give you some context. The calculated speeds, and I don't know how they calculated these speeds, mind you. This is just the report that I'm getting. I don't know how they calculated this. 1,000, this was a range from 1,150 to 7,000 miles per hour.
Wow.
Okay, let me give you some context of how fast that is. Mach 2 is 1,150.
Right.
Mach 9 is 7,000.
Dang.
Okay?
So they could be going Mach 9.
Yeah. The only person that's ever gone
achieved
Mach
Mach
9 is Tom Cruise.
We achieved, yes.
Yes.
And he just did it.
He just did
In
it.
some undisclosed country, we don't know what it is. But they had some nukes.
They did.
Just to give you context, we achieved Mach 1 in 1947. Yep, 1947. So at this point, we achieved Mach 2 in 1954. When was this? This was in 50. When did I say this was? Oh, 1952. This is when this happened.
Okay.
So we didn't even achieve Mach 2 until 2 years later, after we see these incredible things doing these speeds.
Right.
We didn't hit Mach 9 until 2004. Okay? So we haven't achieved these speeds. So when I first heard, hey, they're going 7,000 miles an hour, I was like, come on, we got stuff that can go that fast. And then I was like, oh, no, we didn't. We don't have stuff that goes that fast.
No.
But we do now.
We do now.
Okay.
Yeah, 2004, we hit Mach 9.
Wow.
I don't know if they hit Mach 10. I haven't researched that, but I'm sure Tom Cruise.
He tried to.
Or Maverick, excuse me.
Sorry,
it wasn't Tom. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, President Truman got angry. He gave orders to scramble jets and shoot them out of the sky. Oh, here's another good one here. And I'm just going bullet points right here. General John, I'm just giving names for our listeners. They can research themselves. General John Sanford spoke to the largest press. Oh, this is interesting here. There was a press conference at the Pentagon, and it was the largest one at the Pentagon since World War II, to discuss UFOs and weird, strange phenomenon that was going on. Okay?
Yeah, when you have two of those events happening in a week's time span, that calls for a press conference.
So so by this time, this large press conference, here was what they were doing. At this point, they were assuring to the public that there was no secret development by any U.S. agency.
Nothing to see here, guys. Nothing.
That was their big thing, was like, hey, whatever these strange stuff is, we don't have any secret development.
It's not us.
It's not us.
Wow.
Well, so why would you say that, number one?
Deflection.
Usually that's the case. But why would people start speculating? Was that their first intuition? Like, oh, it's got to be the government. They're testing something. Or was it, hey, I don't know what these lights are. Maybe that's, some alien or whatever.
I would assume that it was more like maybe it's Russia or another country with tech that's foreign to United States knowledge.
So you don't think their first thought was?
I don't think so.
There's some extraterrestrial guy coming down here flying ships over the Capitol.
So. I don't think so.
Okay. So they wanted to leave the public of, hey, it's not us. We're not doing any secret stuff. So calm down.
What I find interesting is that, and I heard this on a documentary about UFOs not too long ago, that most of these sightings started escalating right after World War II, after the dropping of the first atomic bomb. That was something that kind of escalated all this sightings, which would make sense if it was extraterrestrial, right? Then it would make sense after a species has kind of tapped into this kind of power, that they would be, otherworldly planets would be concerned and be like, hey, what's going on over here? What are these monkeys doing over
backwoods people doing on this trash
shooting
planet?
Off firecrackers. And then they would, visit more. That's one theory that I've heard, which would make sense because it was 1945 is when the
atom bombs were dropped.
Yes.
In Japan?
Yeah. And August 6th is when it was invented. 3 days later is when they dropped it, which is very interesting.
That is wild.
Yeah. And then 1947, Project Blue Book.
Yep.
1947.
Roswell incident. Yep.
I mean.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because since this time in 1952, declassified government documents have reported sightings near or around nuclear weapons facilities.
Yes. And this is what I found out this past week. Do you know how many nuclear weapons we've detonated collectively as human beings since it was incepted?
I have no idea.
2,000.
Wow.
2,000.
Just a test?
Just a test.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is a lot.
How come when they do the test, you don't have this huge, there's an area of like Chernobyl or this fallout wasteland?
You should do it in the ocean.
Yeah, they'll do it in the ocean or I think they used to do it in like deserts sometimes.
Yeah, New Mexico.
But I think that was like a problem. in some way.
Well, sure. I mean, at some point, somebody's going to stumble across into a radioactive area.
Yeah, someone's going to go into the desert. And
I have 7 toes on one foot.
Wow, that's where that thing came from in the creek bed.
Maybe. That's what I'm saying.
That might make sense.
That might make sense. But I just find the timeline, like you said, Mike, the timeline is suspicious.
It is very sus.
It is.
As the kids say.
Yep.
As the kids say.
Yeah. So over the ocean, there's no fallout. Is there some kind of thing with the water?
Yep.
I think there is. It's just a lot more space to play around with if you're going to do stuff like that. You know, if you're out in the middle of the Atlantic and you just detonate a bomb, like that's not really going to affect anybody.
What about a cruise ship that wanders into this?
Yeah, if you go right through there.
Hey, they're coming back. Everybody's like sick and throwing up. What's happened here? Well, that's the food. Yeah, nothing to see here.
Right.
That could be.
I've heard of an entire cruise ship, getting sick, and they had to go back into port, and everybody got food sickness. Well, what if they just stumbled across a radioactive zone?
You might have just gotten to the bottom of something there.
And what if that's the thing with the Bermuda Triangle? What if there's nukes there?
There could be.
I don't know. It's crazy. Let's talk about this real quick. But that's funny that you know about the nuclear weapon sites. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this real quick because this ties into what you're saying. 1952, November, okay? Desert Center, California. It's always the desert. The desert. George Adamansky, he was with a group of friends, and they were stargazers. I guess they go out to the desert. Desert's probably the best spot to go look at stars.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They saw this cigar-shaped object in the sky. They all saw it. That's weird. Cigar-shaped. He left the group and started walking to where he thought he saw the craft started landing. So he left the group. Number one, I'd be like, hey, Adam, wait, I'm coming with you. But they all stayed behind. He left the group. So he proceeded to the landed spacecraft. Okay, this is his testimony. He was spoken to non-verbally by Orthon.
What's that?
From Venus. It was the being's name, Orthon.
Oh.
So
like the way it communicated with him, is it just like put thoughts into his head?
Yeah, it was nonverbal communication.
Okay.
And he warned Adam about the threat of imminent nuclear war.
Really?
This was in 1952?
Yes.
Okay.
So he warned him. Orthon. Now, I thought we could see Venus.
Yeah.
We'd be able to see if there was somebody there named Orthon, right?
Ask Elon Musk.
Maybe.
Couldn't we? Don't we have images of? We could see civilizations.
We can see it with a telescope. I don't know like the granularity that we're able to pick up.
I want to meet this Orthon. Is he still around?
It might be.
So as part of Project Blue Book, didn't they like establish like the close encounters of the first kind, the second kind, and third kind? Like basically the varying degrees of encounter.
They did all those reports, and that's how they categorize them. Yes.
And third kind, I think, is like where you actually have contact with a being. Right. Mm-hmm. So this is what you're describing is a close encounter of the third kind.
That's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he said it was apparently he spoke to him since that first encounter. He said because people interviewed him, he told them the story, and he said sometimes he would speak verbally, and he spoke very good English.
Really?
Orthon.
Yes, Orthon.
That's wild.
He was American.
Yeah.
So now I don't know. Look, George took a photo of the craft from Venus, but it was debunked because he has the craft picture. But everybody debunked it and said they compared it to like a surgical lamp.
They said his picture of the craft is a surgical lamp.
Yes. One of those.
Yeah.
That's what they
said it was?
That's what they said. They debunked him, said, you're crazy. That's a surgical lamp. Anyway.
And he was probably devastated.
He probably still has it on his wall.
Yeah.
That picture. I'm not kidding, man. Maybe Orthon gave him the picture. Oh, what if he got mad and said, hey, man, that's copyright. You can't use my spaceship image, dude. What are you talking about? I want to get paid for that.
That's wild.
Anyway, I'm not joking. I got this from a report. So, yeah. So let me keep going here, and then we'll get to Roswell. All right. Remember I told you about Captain. Y'all have anything else about Orthon?
No.
To talk about? Okay.
That's a very interesting story, though. I'd never heard that.
Yeah. His name is George Adamansky. Okay, so you can look him up. Actually, I'll give you another timestamp. So that was November, and he said he had seen him since then on December 13th, 1952, same year. So a month later, he said he's seen him since. So he had several visits from Orthon from November to December. Okay, and he spoke very good English. I don't know. Why not Chinese? I don't know anyway. Maybe he knows.
Orthon could probably speak any
Orthon
language.
just knows what you speak. Yes.
And then,
it's just, yeah, that's exactly how it works. Now, remember Captain Ruppel? I told you he was the director?
Yep.
Now, he left, and recent years later, to this day, they were given orders. So this is Project Blue Book. They're getting orders from the military and the government to explain these events as explainable. So you get to the point where they first want to research this stuff, and it gets to the point where they're like, you know what? To the public, we're going to make this stuff explainable, like weather balloons. It's a hoax. Yeah. Somebody's trying to trick you.
Somebody's crazy.
So that's Project Blue Book turned into that type of organization then. Even though they were still researching and, they were investigating stuff. And it was real, and there was probably a lot of people going, well, this stuff's real, but we can't say that.
Yeah, no, it was just a front. Yeah. It was just a front to cover up what they were actually really doing.
Okay. All right, there was this other scientist hired on after they got these orders. His name's Joseph Allen Hynek. Heard of this guy?
Sounds German.
Okay. He was hired by the Pentagon to advise on Project Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book. So he was kind of the front man.
What's his name again?
Allen Hynek. Not related to the Heimlich maneuver, if that's what you were thinking.
Okay.
So that's a different guy. All right, I'm just going to give you Desiree Hurtak. This is what she knew Joseph Hynek publicly and privately. And here's what she stated. She stated Joseph was basically paid by the government to cover up stories that he got from people that observed strange phenomenon in the skies. He's basically...
To cover them up.
Cover them up.
Okay.
Now, he quickly learned because he was doing these investigations, and he was made to tell a different story that he was being used. Mm-hmm. I'm being used as a puppet, as a front guy, because I'm a scientist, and people will think I'm credible saying these things, and I can dismiss this stuff. But still, he would see stuff that he couldn't explain behind the scenes. Now, Project Blue Book was shut down in 1969.
Yes.
So they went for that long. Their archive, the reason we can talk about this stuff, was made public in 2015.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. And they said they stopped, but they didn't stop. They just morphed into a different type of organization.
Which is the telltale sign of basically every government program.
Absolutely.
They never go, they're like, oh, we stopped doing this. No, you didn't. You just went under a different brand and kept on going.
Yeah, and I think around the same time when MJ-12 was brought onto the scene, that was when the CIA and the NSA and all of those initials were created to help assist those type of things. And I will go with this last point on Project Blue Book. When they were shut down, they accumulated 12,618 UFO sightings. So from 52 to 69, 12,618. 701 of these cases were labeled as unexplained. So a lot of them, they could, we figured that out.
Yeah.
701 of them. So
that's a lot.
That's the percentage there. They couldn't explain it.
I mean, but still, 700 sightings of anything.
Right.
That's a lot.
And Orthon. You know what I'm saying?
But they explained his. It's a surgical lamp. He's crazy.
Yeah. And that guy you talked to, he had some mushrooms or something.
Yeah.
Surgical lamp.
Anyway.
I could just see the picture of the surgical lamp.
Like, imagine if you had a real picture of a UFO and, like, went public with it, and they're like, surgical lamp.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so soul-crushing.
Oh, dude, that's a hubcap.
Yeah.
My cousin's got one. What are you talking about?
That's a Frisbee, dude.
Yeah. The humiliation.
Yeah.
Like, you really think you got something, you know?
That was
like
good.
that thing you found in the creek.
Yeah.
You thought it was alien. Hey, look at this alien. That's just a crab shoe.
Crab.
What are you talking about? Sit down.
That's how I can understand where that guy's coming from, I guess.
Yeah.
You got it right. Oh, Adam. Anyway, that's probably going to take us to Roswell.
Yeah, let's talk about Roswell.
Mike.
So, all right, so yeah, Roswell, we're going to be going to July 8th, 1947. So this is when the Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they had recovered a flying disc.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me stop you there. Roswell wasn't invented because of this. It was already an airfield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was already a military. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. All these years, I just thought that was created because of that incident.
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
It's there, yep. And they discovered a flying disc that had crashed there. That was their initial press release that they made. And then, of course, they quickly retracted that statement and said that the crashed object was, in fact, a nuclear test surveillance balloon from Project Mogul. And just for a little bit of background information, here's what Project Mogul was. So that was actually a top secret U.S. Air Force project involving microphones that were flown up on high altitude balloons where the purpose was to pick up sound waves generated by Soviet atomic bomb tests. Yeah, and the project basically went on from 1947 to 1949.
So, like, to a regular person, that would be like, I mean, put yourself in the people of that era. If you were told that story, right? Because tensions were high with Russia, right?
Yeah.
So if someone told you that story, it'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Those Russians.
And I
Yeah.
think originally what they said was that it was a weather balloon, and then once Project Mogul was declassified, they're like, it was actually one of these balloons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So first they went weather balloon.
Yeah.
Then they're like, actually, we were doing this experiment.
Yes. Right.
Wink, wink.
Yep. And, rumor has it that the government basically threatened all the people involved that were there into secrecy. But a bunch of people that were there on the ground spoke out later in life.
Our government did that?
They did
No
that.
way.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Wait a minute. People on the ground
Yeah.
spoke out? Like actually was there, like they were in their
They were in the base.
military capacity?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first military officer to arrive at the Roswell crash site was Major Jesse Marcel. And according to his grandson, Marcel would share the details of what happened privately with the family. And he was actually one of the lead investigators of the Roswell incident.
Okay.
And allegedly, he brought home a few pieces of the crash debris, the real crash debris, and it included some pieces of like this super thin metal that you could crumple up into a ball like aluminum foil, but it would always bounce back into like its flawless state. So it was some very like special metal that we knew nothing about, basically. And what he also told the family was, so there was like a very famous newspaper photo of Major Jesse Marcel where he's holding up like a piece of the supposed crash debris, and he told his family that photo is actually faked. So it's him holding up a piece of a weather balloon just to kind of go along with the official narrative.
Yeah.
And, in the photo, he's the one kneeling down on the ground holding the piece of the weather balloon material, and he told his family that he basically begrudgingly had to go along with that, and that it was a cover-up. Yep.
Gotcha.
Did you
You
pull
pull it up.
Yeah, I had to pull it up just to see. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before.
Yep. Yeah. So that was in newspapers across the country.
So he said that was fake.
Yes.
They told me to do that.
Yeah.
That is a fake photo. Well, it's a real photo, obviously.
Well,
but
yeah, I mean,
a stage
staged.
photo.
Yeah.
staged. Yes.
Like the moon.
Yes.
Oh, that's another story.
So they basically gave him, a piece of a weather balloon to hold, and they're like, "Here, we're gonna do a photo op. This is what you found."
This is what you tell the people.
And he was probably like,
right.
I guess just to
You
keep
do
my
this
job.
to your family.
Right.
I mean,
right. Black side.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Right.
I don't
Exactly.
look. Why? That's the question.
Why cover it up?
Yeah.
I mean, because
Why do this facade?
imagine
know.
if it was true and the public knew. I mean, the public would go in a frenzy, right?
Yeah. So they think the public isn't ready
To
for that
handle it,
information, and I really don't know all the ins and outs of why they want to keep it secret, but I think that's the big thing. And even like the official story doesn't make sense, because a lot of what these military officers and stuff like Jesse Marcel that came forward, they said like when they cleaned it up, like it took like multiple trucks to basically haul this stuff away. If it was just a weather balloon that crashed, you don't need more than one vehicle to get
You
that out.
need one truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can carry that out by hand.
A Ford. Built in America.
You could put that in my trunk.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, they had all these vehicles and stuff. So a lot of the official narrative does not make sense. And if you go to like the Wikipedia page, they're like, this has been one of the most thoroughly debunked UFO stories. You know, people still cling to it. There's weird stuff involved with the story still.
Well, I mean, so if you've got this and you got a guy saying, hey, they made me stage his photo. I mean, think of Orthon.
Yeah.
The surgical lens, it has to be true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And I think there's like some fake stuff that people tried to sort of like append onto the Roswell incident stuff. Like,
yeah, sure.
Like the alien autopsy video and stuff like that. That has been debunked. That's a fake video. And a few other things where they say like, you know, like a whole bunch of crafts like crashed at the same time. I think what actually happened is one craft crashed.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, what Major Jesse Marcel told his family. And he was, you know, one of the people on the ground there. So... yeah, so crazy story. Definitely was, you know, the incident in the United States that really kicked things off with the whole UFO frenzy, you know, dating back to 1947, which, getting back to that timeline that you were talking about, like right after we dropped.
But not even in America. Like I was watching this documentary about how many sightings overseas. Russia, Brazil.
Yeah, Japan's a hotbed too.
Japan,
Yep.
China.
Yep.
The Chinese, it's just their birds. They just don't know yet. But so there's sightings all over the United States, or not only all over the United States, but all over the world. We just hear about what all the sightings in America.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They as much as they want to squelch and cover up and change the stories, they can't stop it outside of the United States,
Right.
and people still see weird phenomenon in the sky. I mean, before we started the show, you showed me this video of 1997.
Yeah, so March 13th.
What was that?
Yeah, March
I mean,
13th,
you can't refute that, and it's on film.
I'm glad you brought that up. I just pulled that up.
Oh, by the way, where you're looking at that, here's the picture of the craft from Orthon that they said debunked. That was a surgical lamp.
A surgical lamp.
Oh, can I
Yeah.
So what I was telling you, Byron, earlier, the incident called the Phoenix Lights or Lights over Phoenix.
See, and here's George right here holding the photo up, right here.
Looks
so
real to
they
me.
debunked him. They said like, you don't know Orthon.
It looks
That's my cousin from Nebraska. Anyway, 1997.
Yeah, so it's the sighting. It was a mass sighting. So thousands of people witnessed this. It's called the Phoenix Lights or the Lights over Phoenix. It was March 13th, 1997, between 7:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. It was in Phoenix first, and then when it left, minutes later, it was in Tucson. And so
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there was sightings not only in Phoenix but also in Tucson, and there's thousands of counts. People, there's footage of, if you go to
in both places.
Yes, in both places.
Okay, I got you. And it looks similar.
Right. And
The
so
lights.
the government authorities said, "Oh, we don't know anything about this, but we're going to look into this." Like they were at first they were generally concerned, and then time passed and they chalked it up to, "Oh, it's nothing. It's not aliens." And they would joke about it and joke about, the incident. We're like, "Oh yeah, it's green alien men." And when they had their last press conference, one of the government officials brought up a prop of an alien, be like, "Yeah,
What?
Yeah," just to make it seem even more outlandish to get the people to believe it's just craziness. But there's 1,000 people witnessed this. And you can't say every single one of them are crazy, lunatics,
Right.
fanatics, whatever you want to say. That's not. It can't be. Let's just say 10%. That's 100
absolutely,
people
yeah.
to conspire like that. I think it's far fetched. That was one of the incidents that I was really actually intrigued about, and then another one was in O'Hare. I just showed you that one. There were pilots. Did I tell you about this one, Mike?
I heard about this one.
Oh, so you heard about this one.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. So there was a saucer disc that was hovering over the airport, in Chicago at O'Hare Airport, and many pilots, traffic controllers, techs on the ground. A lot of people saw this, and there's recordings of pilots talking to traffic control, being like, "Hey, are you guys seeing this? What's going on?" And there's records of this, but it was squashed, right? And this is broad daylight that this happened.
Yeah,
it wasn't a night sighting, which most UFO sightings are at night, but this was broad daylight.
Yeah.
So where's the story?
Yeah,
they're getting bold.
That should be front page news everywhere.
It should be front page news,
right? It's
but
crazy.
Where's the story?
And what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Even if you can't explain it, just why don't you just say I can't explain it?
Explain it.
I don't know.
And what? Who can? Okay, I can't get my hands on it. I mean, dude talked to Orthon. What the? I mean, come on. Why can't we just say, oh yeah, there's some weird people visiting us. We don't know what they're about, but I go think, about your lives.
Well, I think because
we need to print some more money.
The social structure with, like, let's say religion, I think that would change a lot of people's views. And
so they're like, oh,
right. And so let's just give an example. The Catholic Church is heavily involved, whether you believe it or not, in politics.
Yes.
All around the world. Just imagine if people abandon their faith due to these sightings and leave the Catholic Church, And that's one of the things that I was struggling with this morning. Like, if they're unidentified flying objects, that doesn't mean, like you said, that doesn't mean they're aliens. They could be other things. They could be otherworldly things like angels or something of that nature, or things that we can't comprehend with our finite minds. But I think I can still understand that they're UFOs with having a Christian worldview. Yeah. Understanding they could be something that I had know nothing about. And I think when I put it in that perspective and I keep it at like a higher view of who God is and things that I don't know.
You quoted the scripture a couple of weeks ago, the mysteries.
Yes. I mean, so I just put it in that box. Like, I don't know, but they are things that are happening. We can't dogmatically say
nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I'm not going to live in that falsehood. I live in reality. Like, if I'm seeing what I'm seeing, that's real. Yeah. Right.
Right. Usually the official story is not correct.
A man is a man and a woman is a woman. That's real.
Yes.
Right.
There's two genders. Change my mind.
Change my mind. That's controversial, but I don't care. It's real. And so
it's science.
Science. So I think that's why they don't come out and say, hey, I don't know, actually possibility of it being something other than we know on this earth. Mm-hmm. And that might change a lot of people's viewpoints. I don't think a lot of people are narrow-minded to where they have their faith
would just wreck it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, if that's that, then I can't believe in God because he never said something about an alien or UFO.
Right. And let's just not keep it to Christianity. Let's keep it to like a Buddhist or whoever, a Muslim. Scientology.
Yeah, my God didn't tell me about that.
Right.
Something's wrong here.
Right.
I'm quitting you.
So I think that's kind of why they don't go out and say that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's funny you said, because the official story, number one, there's a couple of things. You're like, nothing to see here. And then, hey, we're not experimenting on aircraft. My thing is, if there was some kind of government craft that could do all these crazy amounts of maneuverability and fast speeds, if they're testing this and they don't want the public to know, I think by now we would have seen some of these craft get into the public. I mean, why are you testing it if you're not going to ever use it?
Right. I mean,
how long are you going to test this stuff? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if there was a craft that could go like that and they're testing it, they want to tell us about it. Eventually, hey, let's go ahead and use this stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you'd be.
So I just don't. I don't buy into that because of that reason.
So I also listened to another documentary about the change in technology when UFO sightings happened right after World War II, the change in technology in our aircraft abilities. Like you just said earlier, I don't know if we were on the cast, but earlier you were talking about going Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3, or Mach 4, Mach 5.
Yeah.
Right? How fast that expedited. I mean, it just exploded. So they were talking about how our aircrafts, United States aircrafts, have just drastically changed in such a short amount of time.
Right.
Just like, I mean, they gave an example, the F-35 jet,
Yeah.
and how it's able to, when it can levitate, like,
Yeah.
and it was in stationary. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The stealth abilities for the Raptor, F-22, all these new, which, oh my gosh, there's so much information. All this new technology that kind of exploded our aircraft
ability.
Yeah. Actually was privatized in the early 80s or late 80s, early 90s, by these companies like Lockheed, and they got people that were on scientists that were on engineers that were on the same projects that pertain to UFOs in the government.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they shifted them to these privatized companies to work for their aviation companies in their engineering division,
Yeah.
right?
That's when all the major leaps and bounds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you think some of that's
Well,
from reverse?
yeah. So you're saying some of that could be reversed engineered from
Exactly.
alien tech.
Yeah. That's what Bob Lazar's whole story is.
Oh, because he has some?
Yeah.
Well, he was supposedly one of the guys that was working on that.
Yeah. Tell us who he is for the people that don't know.
So Bob Lazar kind of came onto the scene with like an anonymous interview in 1989. So like we didn't know it was him at the time, but he was basically stating that the U.S. military was secretly studying alien technology out of the Nevada desert and trying to reverse engineer and duplicate that technology.
Okay.
So that's sort of his background. He was one of the guys doing that. And he came out and said basically, hey, like the propulsion system that I'm working on is like a gravity propulsion system. The power source is an antimatter reactor. Like all this crazy stuff that you only hear about in like sci-fi novels and stuff. Not actual technology out in the real world. And he's saying that, hey, I'm working on, reverse engineering something that has this stuff actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and one of the things he talked about, there was like a documentary that came out a few years ago about him where he was talking about something called element 115, which he describes as a super heavy element, and it's only recently been synthesized. They've only been able to make just a few atoms of it, and it does not occur naturally here. And the special properties that it has is when it's exposed to radiation, it produces its own anti-gravitational field, and that is what is used to lift and propel these crafts and create distortions around it and all these things.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have things like that going on, so like a lot of people are like, if you have a ship that's traveling that fast, like a human can't take that many G forces, right? If you're traveling, Mach whatever,
right.
Stop on a dime and then change direction.
Yeah.
If you have like anti-gravity forces and stuff taking place in the ship, it seems like that would be a possibility.
Oh, so that would protect the human body from these enormous G's that are getting pulled from the craft doing these crazy things.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. So that makes sense.
Yeah, so like scientifically what he's saying, it seems to check out. And, over the years, I mean, obviously he started coming onto the scene in 1989. Like a lot of the stuff that he's saying is starting to look more and more correct. It's in line with what is being released to the public.
So he's becoming more credible with time.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So some of the stuff he's talking about, it's in the public, and has it been implemented in some of our craft?
That's what he thinks. I mean, one of the UFOs that a lot of people have seen, like in night skies and even in broad daylight, is the TR-3B. Have you heard of that one? It's like the black triangle aircraft. And basically it has like a large reactor in the middle of it, and there's like a light on each one of the corners, and it can like hover and be like completely silent. So it can just like hover like a helicopter and you can't even hear it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
I want to see that.
Lots and lots of people have supposedly seen this one. And it can just be like gone in the blink of an eye. It can just like take off. And
it's triangle?
Yeah, it's a black triangle shape.
Triangle. There we go, boys.
Yep. Always a triangle.
Triangle. It's the strongest force.
Yep.
It's true.
Yeah, and many people from all over the world have been saying they've seen these since at least the mid 1990s, which is crazy to go back that far, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's funny because the triangle, I'm thinking the cockpit was probably in the middle, kind of raised up, kind of like have you seen Star Trek? Mm-hmm. Okay, where their bridge is kind of in the middle of the saucer and it's kind of raised up above. So I'm thinking the triangle, so it didn't have to go straight or it could go any direction.
Right. And it could be,
Oh, that would be cool. So you got this triangle spaceship, right? You got the lights and you got the lights on each point and you got the bridge right in the middle, which doesn't turn with the ship. It just stays stationary and the ship moves around it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like a gyro. What's that? Oh, yeah, that's a don't they call it that helicarrier?
No, that's the.
I've seen those. I mean, I've seen those when I've seen those in when I was in the military.
Yeah,
they would just take off the mat.
Yeah,
yeah, those are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
what you're saying is that was in the middle.
If you Google image TR3B, you'll see what it looks like. It's kind of weird.
TR3B.
TR3B. Yep.
I'm gonna look that up. That was Jason.
That was me.
Yep.
TR3B.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. That came up. Secret space UFOs.
Yep. So
Rise of the TR3B official trailer. Oh boy. Oh yeah, that looks sweet.
Yeah, I mean it looks plausible to have that.
It does very, yeah. I think I saw actually. You know what? I saw this on the X-Files. This exact ship.
Really?
Yeah, he walked into it and it was a cloaked, and he walked into a big hangar and it was just levitating.
Oh, okay.
And it was cloaked and they uncloaked it and he touched it and he was like, finally, some proof. And then he came back later and it was all scrubbed and gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
it
shows.
Looks
I think
similar
shows
to the B-2 bomber.
It does really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, y'all look it up, folks.
It just doesn't have that sawtooth on the backside. Yep.
Yeah, I think shows like X-Files, all the sci-fi movies, I think y'all can attest to this. I think it's like it puts it out there like, oh, okay, that's not real. Yeah. Because I made a show up about it, or I made a movie. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's underneath a B-2 bomber.
That looks like the TR-3B.
Yeah.
But I think shows and movies that Hollywood is involved with the military complex to put shows out, to put movies out, just so the public's like, oh, okay, that's not real.
Propaganda?
They can make that.
Propaganda.
Propaganda?
Yeah.
No.
I really think that because, I mean, if you think about it, you like, anybody seen the X-Files? I've watched the season multiple times.
I've seen a few episodes.
So whoever came up with that has got to have a mind kind of like what we're thinking, because it goes in line with what we're talking about here. Strange phenomenon. You can't explain stuff, and there's a shadowy government entity trying to squelch it and keep it under wraps because they don't want it, because they have a what's the word, insidious? Is that a good word?
Yeah, I mean
they have this agenda against the public to do certain things to them,
right?
Like population control, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And so they make shows like this to where if we think that could happen, like, that's not really real, that's just sci-fi.
Yeah.
But really it's real. Wink, wink. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Anyway, like Orthon.
Yeah.
I love that name.
It's a great name.
Yeah, it is a good name.
I wonder who his parents were. Orthania?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I wonder if he has any children.
I don't know. Oh. And in addition to the black triangle,
go ahead. Sorry, we got off track.
Seeing, like, there's another like commonly seen UFO called. It's shaped like a Tic Tac.
Yes. Okay, you've mentioned this. Yeah, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so there was a famous encounter on the USS Nimitz. So 2 pilots took off from the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier.
Okay,
and they discovered a Tic Tac shaped UFO in the airspace with them.
Was this off the coast of San Diego?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so as soon as they took off, They see this Tic Tac in the air.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it's
flying with them or hovering?
Yeah, it's just in the same airspace with them. It's, down really low. It's up really high. It's doing all sorts of crazy maneuvers.
It's moving with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not stationary.
Yep.
Okay.
And they were they went out there. They're like, okay, we're going to go get this thing. It was, on their radar, and they fly right on it. And it got to the point where it was basically indistinguishable between like where they were and where it was. They were right on top of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when they saw it, and they looked down, and they said it was a white Tic Tac about 50 feet long. And it was able to basically just change direction.
On a dime.
Yeah. Do all sorts of crazy stuff. It like blasted away like 60 miles in like the snap of a finger. And it was able to do all these crazy things. And one of the pilots had an infrared sensor and a camera on their plane. And they took that footage that's been pretty viral in recent years.
It's on YouTube. You can look it up.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And I think that sort of like marks the point, like once that video went out, where like UFOs and stuff started to get a lot more credibility when people were talking about them, because they're like, oh, these are, naval pilots that, these are credible people. These people have seen, every type of aircraft there is, and they don't know what this thing is.
Right.
Yep. Are you pulling up the
what
video?
What year was that?
Yeah, I'm trying to
2004.
2004.
But I don't think the video went public until like 2016 or something like that. It wasn't like right away. But I mean, obviously people knew about it.
Yep.
And the Navy was like, we have no idea what that thing was.
Right.
That like they're just like, we don't know. White Tic Tac is what it was. Yeah. And I think I've actually seen this thing.
Tell me more about this.
So I will. Yeah. So I have had a UFO sighting.
Okay.
This was just in my backyard. Me and my wife were just like laying down and, stargazing in our backyard right as the sun was starting to go down. And the sun, when it's about to set, the sky turns, like pink and orange and all those cool colors and everything.
Twilight.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
So it was just like a very warm sky. And then we both see this thing making absolutely no noise. It's not going at like a ridiculous rate of speed or anything, but it's flying kind of low. And it matches the description of what these people on the USS Nimitz are talking about. It was white, and it was shaped like a pill. It was shaped like a Tic Tac, like a capsule. And it was just zooming across the sky.
Could have been a
How close
Goodyear
was this?
blimp.
It could not have been a Goodyear blimp.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Too fast.
So how far was this? Like, if you could.
Like how far off the ground?
No, well, how far visually? Like,
Yeah.
like was it far off, or it was close enough to see?
It was close.
Oh, that's a white object.
It was
looks like a pill.
It was close enough for us to like easily make detail off of it. So I think it was probably like 1,000 feet off the ground, maybe.
Okay.
So it wasn't super high up, and the color of it was kind of weird. So like, it was white, but it was also kind of like picking up the color of like the sunset too.
Which would make sense if it was white.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it was kind of like, blending in a little bit, but we could clearly see this thing just, going across the sky.
What did Kim say?
We were like, wow. First of all, I was like,
do you see that?
Yeah. I was like, do you see this thing? And neither one of us like went to like run and get our phones and shoot a video, because, we left our phones inside. We were just out there hanging out. And,
Classic.
Yeah. We weren't too worried about getting a video. We wanted to just like kind of experience it, because we watched it go all the way across the sky and disappear out of view. And yeah, it was wild. That was the only time I've ever seen a UFO.
There was no
where
noise.
was this? Was this in Kansas City?
This was in Kansas City. Yeah.
Here.
Yes.
Now, how far is it? I mean, not to give anything, but is this out in the country where there's like low lights? Like
No.
you can't. Okay, so there's a lot of.
Yeah. So it's just.
But it's just getting twilight, so it's really not dark. You could actually see colors on this thing,
right. Yeah.
and visually make it out in the
If
sky.
there's more people here that have
That
Do you know what day and the date and time?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh! What's that timestamp?
Well, the reason why is because
You want to see if somebody
if
can
other people
corroborate
have-
the story.
Yes, if other people in Kansas City have
Corroborate?
seen it.
Yeah, so I know the month and the year. So this was August of 2020.
Okay.
2020.
August 2020.
Yes.
Deep in the pandemic. So
Yeah.
everybody's at home looking at this thing,
Yeah.
Or everyone's inside.
scared
Yep.
with a mask on.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, if you weren't like looking up at the sky the way that we were, because that's what we were out there doing. We were just looking
You
up
wouldn't
into
have seen
the sky.
it.
You would not have noticed this.
And you didn't hear any noise. There wasn't a noise made with this.
No noise. Yeah. Nothing.
How long was it in the sky?
I watched it go like completely out of view. We probably watched it for like well over a minute.
But it was always in motion. It never stopped.
It never stopped.
Okay, so it was just kind of, and it had the same trajectory, like the same linear path. Mm-hmm. It didn't elevate or go down.
Yeah, we didn't see it turn or go up or go down or anything.
And then what happened? It just
went off.
Crazy, man.
Went off.
Like super quick?
No, it was slow the whole time.
Just kind of just steady.
Yeah, it was just doing a cruising speed, just going through, which is weird.
It was doing reconnaissance.
Yeah. And I watched it the whole way because I was like kind of expecting it to do something crazy.
So in your mind, were you like, this is a UFO? Or
yes.
What were you
Well, it was
thinking at that
unidentified, of course.
Yeah.
Well, actually identified. It was a Tic Tac.
So I had heard of the Tic Tac from, the USS Nimitz, and I was like, I think we just saw a Tic Tac.
You told her that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The Tic Tac, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's wild. It was crazy.
Hey, here's what's funny, though. I mean, if this was ortho, think about how they've evolved.
Yeah.
From the lamp to a Tic Tac. They're evolving, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see, look at the Nimitz, you got the Tic Tac. You saw the Tic Tac.
Yeah.
It's no longer saucers and junk in surgical lamps.
Maybe.
It's Tic Tacs, dude.
It seems like it. They did just see that like cigar shape one in
the cigar
Missouri.
shape, yes.
The cigar shape one is the other one that people see.
And now, what was the one that we saw at Chicago? Was it how is it shaped?
It was a disc.
It was a disc.
Yeah. It was
Okay, disc.
So there could be like different, like races of these things, with their own technology. Who knows?
And one may be better. What
Did
if
you
they're
sleep
buying
that night? Because I wouldn't be able to sleep that night.
I was like proud that I saw it. I was like, this is amazing.
I would freak out.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I would freak out.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I
Why
didn't
didn't you
freak
call
out
the
at all.
news
I don't know, man.
or Project Blue Book or somebody?
We all know the newspaper here in the city is not.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's another story.
The news, they're not interested in telling the truth. So
Exactly.
They would probably just,
So hey, let's say if you did call the news, so you're going to be the reporter. How would you report this?
Did you? Were any other people there?
just us.
Just you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sounds creditable to me.
Well, no.
let's go with
Now I
it.
want you to disseminate what you would tell the public. What he just
They
described.
would paint me
okay.
as a crackpot.
We saw this dude. He looked like he was a hippie.
Yeah.
He looked like he had something wrong with his head. It was just shaped weird. That was the Tic Tac, actually. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, like minutes before, this gentleman had just put in a bunch of Tic Tacs in his mouth. His wife popped him in the back of the head, and he just kind of lost consciousness for a second.
Right.
Kind of everything went blurry, and then all of a sudden he's seen a Tic Tac float across the sky.
I swear he was on PCP.
Yeah.
Well, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So we actually have somebody that has been to the Bermuda Triangle. Somebody has seen a UFO, and I'm seeing nothing.
Yeah, you'll see one eventually.
Eventually I'll see
will.
Bigfoot.
Just go hang out in your backyard and look up at the sky.
Oh,
every
that
now and then.
reminds me. So we're talking about UFOs. Because we've mentioned satellites before. So, when you look at the sky and you see that star that's slowly going across the...
Uh-huh.
Is that a satellite? Because I always chalk it up to one. Because what if it is the Tic Tac?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I know that like when you see a satellite, it's like right before it gets dark, like the first like stars in the sky are usually satellites that you're able to see. So yeah, I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Dave Matthew had a song called Satellite.
Well, what I'm talking about is you see it looks like a star. It's just a light, and it's slowly moving across the atmosphere. You can tell it's in orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Have you seen
I've
these?
seen it,
Okay, so I always think that's a satellite. It's an orbiting satellite.
Is it?
It could be. I don't
Well,
know.
maybe it's a Tic Tac. Maybe it's ortho.
Before we cut out, let's we will have more episodes on this topic because there's just a lot to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've just covered the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have more stuff in my notes. There's crazy things we need to get into with UFOs.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, here's what we covered: the Blue Book, the project, the government to cover up stuff knowingly. Roswell. I'm staging photos. and then
Orthon.
And then Orthon.
Yep.
You can't get away from Orthon. I think that's the takeaway of today.
Yes.
I want to meet Orthon.
Yeah, who is this Orthon?
And is he going to come back?
Maybe.
Is he still alive? Because that was what, 52? Mm-hmm. Yeah, November 52.
He's still around.
Hey, Orthon, if you're hearing this, because I know you hear signals like this all out in space, we welcome you back.
Yep.
Okay. What do we got next week? We got Bigfoot next week?
No, we got 9/11 next week.
9/11!
Uh-oh.
That's going to be a doozy. Y'all don't want to miss it because we're going to have some top engineers on. I'm just kidding.
I was about to
but
say,
we can report from them. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, stay tuned next week. You might hear Mike say
9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah.